Another top story for you now. Today, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is spending time in Iowa speaking about his new book, The Courage to Be Free, which he calls a blueprint for America's survival. He was joined by Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds at the first event of the day in Davenport, which is where we find News 8's Joe McCoy. Joe, aside from his book, what else did the governor have to say?
Yeah, David. Well, DeSantis spoke at length about how Florida handled the COVID-19 pandemic. He also touched on immigration and strengthening our borders in regards to America's fentanyl crisis. He also touched on education and, in his words, how Florida is focusing on educating the youth instead of indoctrinating them. Now, it is important to note that DeSantis has not officially announced his bid for the 2024 White House. He says he's going to wait until Florida's legislative session wraps up to make that decision. But this really was just a chance for him to test the waters and see how Iowans reacted to his message. DeSantis has been critical of former President Trump, saying how he was actually able to pass legislation in Florida and be successful in the midterm elections. DeSantis winning the Florida governor race by 20 percentage points compared to many Trump-endorsed candidates who lost their midterm races.
You know, with this book tour, this really gives the governor an opportunity to get eyes on the state of Florida during this legislative session, which just kicked off. And as the governor is looking for some wins, if he decides to run for president right now, Florida has both Republican majority in both of those chambers. So, Joe, I'm curious, what do the audience members have to say?
Well, David, first off, I got to say, it was an absolute packed house, well over 700 people in attendance. But people really just liked DeSantis' policies in Florida, as well as how he handled the pandemic. Now, in terms of voting for DeSantis over Trump, if he were to run in the 2024 election, one woman I spoke to said it would come down to how DeSantis handles foreign policy issues.
And the DeSantis team says that he's also meeting with other lawmakers today. So what have you learned about those meetings?
Yeah, so he's planning to meet with Iowa state legislators at the Capitol, those legislators passing Iowa's Transgender Affirming Care Act, which is very similar to DeSantis' proposed bills in Florida, excuse me. David?
Joe, thank you so much reporting in Davenport for us. And DeSantis will also continue his tour at the Iowa State Fairgrounds in Des Moines this afternoon. It is 11:04, and Iowa Democrats are also responding to the visits from Trump and DeSantis, saying that they're not the right picks for the White House.
If that's not enough, on day one of Florida's new legislative session, DeSantis' allies in the state legislature introduced a bill that would ban abortion before many women even know they're pregnant. But DeSantis has repeatedly pledged that he will sign that. This comes after DeSantis already signed an initial ban last year that has no exceptions for rape or for incest. Again, Iowans know how cruel and unacceptable that is. And finally, Donald Trump is coming to Iowa on Monday to talk about education, like he knows something about it. As president, Trump appointed someone to the Department of Education whose priority was to support private schools to the detriment of public school children.
And a reminder, President Trump is coming to Davenport as well. He'll be speaking at the Adler Theater on Monday. Doors open at 3, and Trump will take the stage at 6:15. He will be speaking about education. You do need tickets to attend, but it is free. We have a link to get those tickets on our website right now, WQAD.com.